Well, thank you for the privilege of being with you today and sharing some thoughts. I think I'm going to do the meditation at the end again. Just jump right in. So, blessings to you all. As you know, Jesus said that all things are possible with God and all things are possible to one who believes. There are, of course, some people who are skeptical about all things being possible with God. Common way of expressing that skepticism is with a paradoxical question, which is you may have heard. Can God make a rock so heavy that even he can't move it? This is an omnipotence paradox. Can God make a rock so heavy that even he can't move it? And the idea is if he couldn't create it, then he wouldn't be all powerful. And if he could lift it, he wouldn't be all powerful either. Another version of this that's maybe a bit more philosophical or scientific is a question of what would happen if an irresistible force were to meet an immovable object. Well, the paradoxical heavy rock question assumes that God is a person external to the physical universe, a person who stands or sits outside of the universe and acts upon it. It's the question assumes a concept of God as separate from the universe. I'm not personally troubled by the paradox because I do not believe in a God person external to and separate from the universe. If God is, as I believe, the infinite mind that contains all ideas, and that all things in the universe are God ideas, then it's sort of nonsense to ask questions about what God can or cannot do to the world as if God were external to and separate from the universe. I believe that the laws of nature are ideas conceived in divine mind, and so are part of that mind, part of God. Consider the question from that angle for a moment. We know from science that an infinitely dense point will expand into a universe according to the laws of nature, the laws in divine mind. That is, according to at least some scientific theory, that is what happened at the Big Bang. According to physics, an infinitely dense point expanded into a universe, the universe that we are in. So, in the universe which we inhabit, the heaviest possible object has already been made and moved. However, in a possible universe with a different set of laws, it could be the case that an infinitely dense point does not expand, does not move. Hence, God both can and cannot make an object so heavy that even God cannot move it, depending on the laws in different possible universes in God mind. We don't often think about this idea of other possible universes, but physicists experiment on computers with what would happen if the laws of the universe were different. In a different possible universe with a different set of laws conceived in divine mind, an immovable object or an irresistible force might be actual fact. For all we know, there are other possible universes that we cannot perceive with our human senses, but that are nevertheless actual facts in divine mind. The point is that all things are possible for God, but humanly, we do not perceive the full contents of the infinite mind, nor do we understand everything about this universe. We do not understand everything about infinity. What seems impossible or contradictory from a limited human perspective can be fully actual and factual in infinite mind. Paradox is a result of limitations of human understanding rather than a refutation of divine omnipotence, as is sometimes thought. And I have a question as a response to the paradox. Why would God want to make an object so heavy that even God could not move it? From that perspective, the paradox is just silly. I simply assume all things are possible for God, cleverly, cleverly devised paradoxes notwithstanding. On the other hand, I recognize that though all things are possible, not all things are probable from a human perspective in this universe. There is a difference between what is possible and what is probable. It's important for us to understand the difference between the possible and the probable if we want to function effectively in the world. Perhaps it is possible that with God, I could sprout wings and fly. It is not probable that I will. For one thing, I would have to get a whole new wardrobe to accommodate the wings. And I dislike shopping. At any rate, there are no known cases of such an event of wings sprouting and humans flying. It's improbable. Take another example. It's possible that I could become president of the United States, but not probable for at least two reasons. Number one, I'm not interested in becoming president. Number two, I'm not interested in doing the work necessary to become president. In short, if I don't want to become or do something, it is improbable that I will become or do that thing, even though the thing is possible. Not everything that is possible and probable is worth doing either. Anything a human has done in the past makes it probable that another person could do the same thing or even surpass it. Human beings seem to like to break records, to set records for various things, to demonstrate human possibilities. That's why we have that popular book, the Guinness Book of World Records. I'll just give an example of an interesting record. There was a woman named Diana Armstrong, or is a woman, I think she's still alive. She holds the record for the longest fingernails. This is one of those believe it or not things. Her fingernails measured 42 feet and 10 inches. So it's probable that someone else could grow fingernails to 30 to 43 feet long. I'm not sure why anyone would want to. It seems like such long fingernails would have some disadvantages. I can't quite picture how someone could do things like peeling a banana, playing a piano, opening a door, or brushing their teeth with 43-foot fingernails. So anything that been done once by human beings could probably be done again. I'll just give you one more silly example. There's a New Jersey man who's rather famous named Joey Chestnut. He holds the world record for eating hot dogs. He once ate 83 hot dogs with the buns in 10 minutes. That's pretty impressive. Eating 83 hot dogs in 10 minutes seemed worthwhile to Joey Chestnut, and he proved it was possible. So it's probable someone could do it again since it's been done once. It's possible that I could, with training, eat, like Joey Chestnut, eat 83 hot dogs with the buns in 10 minutes. However, that does not seem worthwhile to me. For one thing, I don't like hot dogs enough to eat that many in a year, let alone in 10 minutes. Well, you get the idea. That's enough silly possibilities and probabilities. I prefer to consider possibilities that are truly worthwhile and practical, such as just being happy, putting food on the table, healing diseases, ending wars and government corruption. All these things and more are possible with God through belief, according to the teachings of Jesus, which I also believe. So would you like to live in a world in which everyone was wealthy? I believe that is possible. It is possible for everyone to become a multimillionaire, but judging by history and under current economic systems, it is not probable that everyone will become a multimillionaire. Still, if it is important to you to become wealthy, millionaire or billionaire, it's possible, even probable, that you can do that. Anything that humans have done, other humans can probably do. There are certain conditions necessary for becoming a multimillionaire or a billionaire. First, you must desire wealth. Then you must conceive and believe that there is a way to become wealthy, some kind of plan, as our introductory meditations mentioned. You must act to achieve what you have conceived. We have a greater probability of accomplishing goals if we pursue the goals in which we are interested, which we desire, which we believe we can accomplish. We have a greater probability of accomplishing goals if we truly desire to accomplish them, believe that we can accomplish them, and act to accomplish them, depending on what kind of action is necessary. It is possible that any illness can be healed, but some healings are more probable than others. As with acquiring health, healing requires desire, belief, and action. If a person doesn't want to be well for some unconscious reason, and there are cases of that, that person is not likely to get well. If a person doesn't believe that they can get well, it is less likely that person will get well. Not impossible, but less likely. If a person doesn't believe, if a person does nothing to get well, it is less likely that the person will get well. Not impossible, but less likely. Now, the doing might be simply going to a physician. The doing might be changing diet or exercising. The doing might be prayer and meditation. Healing becomes probable when we desire it, believe it, and act to make it so. Since it is possible with God for all people to be wealthy and all things to be healed, how can we explain problems such as poverty and disease? Some people might ask, why doesn't God just make us all wealthy, healthy, and wise? Why do we have to do anything to have good things? Well, that's a long conversation in and of itself. But for one thing, one of our gifts, the gifts of being offspring of God, if you will, children of God, one of our gifts is free will, which means we can make mistakes. We can do unwise things because we are free to do so. We can have unwise thoughts. Now, some people might believe that the world would be better if we did not have the gift of freedom. Some might believe that if we humans were just machines operating automatically for the highest good of all, that would be better. In other words, some people believe that it would be better to be a robot than to be a free human being. I have some doubts about that. I don't believe the world would be better if humans made the rules for the universe. We have enough trouble making and enforcing good laws for our cities and nations. We perpetually change the rules. That is no way to run a harmonious universe. So I think it's best that the divine mind, the infinite mind, make the rules rather than human preferences, or preferences from a human point of view. Now, for another point, our personal conditions are not entirely due to our personal freedom. As individuals, we are connected in the field of human consciousness, a collective consciousness, if you will, because we are one. We are all connected. Our consciousness is connected. And so we are born into a world in which there's this field of consciousness. What others believe and do can impact what we believe and do, for better or worse. As long as we live in this universe, as humans, we cannot completely extricate ourselves from the field of human consciousness. However, unfortunately, we as individuals can impact that field, again, for better or for worse. But we have an impact. The field of human consciousness, for example, generally and firmly holds to belief in the reality of disease. The collective general belief is what causes illness. According to the theory that is held by the founders of unity and of other metaphysical philosophies. The collective general belief is what causes illness. So we're connected to that system, if you will. The mind therapies, the spiritual treatments of the metaphysical schools, originally involved arguing that disease is caused by false beliefs. The cure, then, involves arguing for health as the true and rightful inheritance of humanity. The arguments are based on the premise that God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, absolute good, and the fundamental reality of the universe. That's the fundamental premise. We heard it again today in the opening of this service, this idea of God as omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, absolute good, and the fundamental reality of the universe. It talked about the idea of God as self, or the self as God last week. Now, what is dis-ease? I like that word, dis-ease. It suggests the idea of not being at ease. It is a state of consciousness in which there is unease, in which there is some disturbance and stress. The opposite of a disturbed or distressed state is a consciousness of ease, a consciousness at ease, a consciousness undisturbed, serene, content. So the opposite, if you will, of dis-ease is ease, serenity, contentment. That's the state of consciousness that is the state of health. Primary cause of disease is the belief in disease in collective consciousness. That belief can enter into individual consciousness. Doesn't have to, but can and often does. Not consciously necessary. Individual consciousness then does not cause belief in disease, as some people have, some teachers have taught. The individual consciousness does not cause belief in disease. The individual consciousness is not responsible for dis-ease. Illness is not an act of will or of conscious thought. The remedy, or a remedy, is to find a way to bring back or to come back into the state of consciousness that is at peace, at ease, serene, content. Now, I recently did a little bit of research because I wasn't sure exactly what the supposed facts are. Medical research. Medical research has repeatedly found that things like meditation, relaxation, and other stress reduction methods are therapeutic. According to the United States Center for Disease Control, the CDC, approximately, this might stun you, it's what it says, approximately 90% of all disease is stress related. 90%. And for all we know, all illnesses could be stress related, and medical science simply hasn't yet found the link to the remaining 10% that are supposedly not related. Well, where do we go from here? I'm going to cite again teachings of Jesus. He said, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. It's an interesting way of stating it. Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So we go from holding something in the present tense that results in something in the future. Believe that you have received it, it will be yours. Now, the Hebrew and Greek words for belief and faith are revealing. They are etymologically rooted in the ideas of trust, of being persuaded, or firmly holding an idea. So this is what it means to believe. This is what Jesus was expressing with the words he used. Trust, being persuaded, or firmly holding an idea. Now, consider this saying of Jesus, then, substituting these synonyms to gain some insight about what he's saying. So, substituting the synonyms. Trust that you have received it and it will be yours. Be persuaded that you have received it, and it will be yours. That's the sort of fundamental, original mind cure treatment. Be persuaded you have received it, and it will be yours. Excuse me. Firmly hold that you have received it, and it will be yours. So concentrate on the idea. Hold it in your consciousness. According to Jesus, present belief causes future conditions. Placebo effect in science, in medicine. And consider this saying: all things are possible to one who believes. I mentioned at the outset, all things are possible to one who believes. And then again, substitute the synonyms as a way of getting at the state of consciousness that we want to enter into in order to receive what we ask for. So, all things are possible to one who trusts. All things are possible to one who is persuaded that it is so. All things are possible to one who firmly holds an idea. The yogic teachings of Patanjali emphasize concentration, that idea of holding an idea in your consciousness, firmly holding it, sustained concentration, manifesting as all kinds of powers and all kinds of good, and ultimately conscious union with the infinite. So firmly holding ideas. All things are possible. To be at ease rather than diseased, trust. Trust that health is yours. Hold the idea that health is yours now. Establish through concentration and imagination the idea of health in your consciousness. It's an interesting sort of psychological fact that if you vividly visualize something, imagine, for example, running as an example, vividly imagine running, get a sense of the scenery and whatever you might smell or whatever you might feel, visually or vividly imagine, just sit and imagine it. According to studies, your body responds as if you were doing that thing physiologically, right? So you sort of literally, run a marathon in your mind, and using that in with imagination, you build up the faith to actually be able to do that. Okay? So again, if it's worthwhile to you. Right? So establish health in your consciousness. Imagination is linked with faith. Imagine it vividly, and you develop the faith, the consciousness, the ability to do that which you seek to do. There's another way of putting this, again, according to the teachings of unity and other metaphysical movements. So to put it another way, do not let in, do not trust, do not hold to common beliefs about the reality of disease. Let go of the collective negative beliefs or the negative beliefs in collective consciousness. Do not trust them. Do not hold them. Trust instead that God in you is wholeness, that God in you is the reality of what you are, that God in you is wholeness now. Now, this divine mentality seems counterintuitive to the general public precisely because it is not thoroughly established in the field of human consciousness. It is becoming more established. More and more people are becoming aware of the power of mind, if you will, of the power of belief. But remember, the field of human consciousness is not always right. It has been wrong about a lot of things. That's a reason to not necessarily go along with the crowd, go along with what seems obviously true to others. The collective consciousness, as I said, has been wrong about some things. It was wrong about the place of the Earth in the solar system and the universe for thousands of years. It was wrong about the world being created in 6,000 years ago. We have sufficient evidence to prove that belief is false. Yet many people believed it. Almost everyone believed it at one time. Collective consciousness was wrong about the causes and cures for most diseases for thousands of years, at least according to modern medical science. Collective consciousness was wrong and incorrect in believing that slavery was a divine institution. And the list goes on. Collective consciousness is often wrong. And so we turn to reliable sources and evidence. We turn within to find the truth. So, what can we as individuals do to improve the world, to make it more heavenly? We are part of the field of human consciousness. We change the field of collective consciousness by what we sow into that field. When we sow love, love grows in the field. When we sow serenity, serenity grows in the field. When we sow ideas of wealth in the field, wealth grows in the field. When we sow ideas of health and dig out the weeds of dis-ease from our consciousness, health grows in the field. Never accept the idea that you cannot do anything to make the world better. You make it better with every prayer. We've made it better today simply by concentrating on truth in various ways, in our opening affirmation, in our daily word, in our candle ritual. Make it better with every prayer, with every good and true thought, with every act of kindness and forgiveness. You sow seeds in the collective consciousness that will grow in the field. With God, with trust in God, all things are possible, including a heavenly earth. And so now I invite you to join me in contemplating some of these ideas. Take a few moments to become comfortable, to feel your breathing. Send the thought into your body, all through your body. Relax. As we relax, we enter into a state of ease. We enter into a state of peace that is aligned with divine mind, with the truth and the good of divine mind. So relax and let go. Send that thought in. Relax, let go, breathe. If any thoughts or feelings come into your mind, simply witness them and let them pass. They came to pass. Without pushing away or grasping to them, simply let them flow. Then we direct our attention to truth. Ultimately, the meaning of the word God, the idea behind the word God, is simply truth, reality. Truth is God. Truth is present everywhere throughout the universe. So God is present everywhere throughout the universe. Truth is reality, is God. God is the reality. Consciousness, mind, is God. Consciousness, mind, is the truth, is the reality. What we do and hold in consciousness is our reality. Believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Consciousness is God. God is omnipresent. Consciousness, mind, is omnipresent. All that there is, all the reality and truth of what there is. Truth of life is God. The truth, the reality of our bodies, is God. God, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and infinite, all-knowing mind, absolute good. Life is God. Harmony is God. Health is God. Health is a reality. Let go of false beliefs. The collective consciousness. Let go of the belief that health is absent anywhere. For God, health is present everywhere in every part of us. So we release those limited and false beliefs and enter into the divine consciousness, or the consciousness of the divine, present in us, through us, as us, all around us. We wish to pray effectively for others. We hold them in that same truth, that God is present in them, as them, expressing through them, that God is absolute good, that God is health. We hold them in that idea. We visualize them as radiant with health. We visualize ourselves radiant with health. We hold the idea, we trust the truth that God is our health, that God is our help in every need. God is our every hunger feed. God walks beside us, guides our way through every moment of the day. We hold to this truth for ourselves and for others. If we have a feeling of lack, we let that feeling go. We let it go as a false belief. There is no lack, for God is everywhere present. God is the reality, the substance of the universe, and that substance is infinite. That substance manifests in our world as our supply. That substance is limitless. We let go of limited beliefs that are held in a collective consciousness, limited beliefs about supply. We hold others in this consciousness of opulent abundance, of limitless substance flowing into our lives to meet our every need abundantly. Just as we feel the energy of God in us as life, we feel the flow of divine substance through us and all around us. Recognize that substance as limitless. Hold this idea of abundance for ourselves, for our loved ones. Let's hold this idea of abundance, the limitless supply, the divine love drawing to us all that we need. Let's hold that idea for the Unity Center of Montreal. Those who are here, those who are connected to this community, and those who are now being drawn to this community through divine love, through our consciousness of abundance. We draw to us those who are seeking truth. Let go of limited ideas and open ourselves to the truth of infinite substance, infinite life, infinite light, infinite mind, infinite life. Perfect harmony and health is the reality, is our reality. We accept that now. We trust that right now, all this health, abundance, wisdom, all that we need is now flowing to us and through us. So now we take a few moments to sit in silence and feel the absolute good that is now manifesting in us, all around us, throughout the universe. We are still, we are receptive, we experience the divine reality now in the silence. As we move through this day and days ahead, we remain in this feeling and in this knowing. Divine presence, the divine self, the infinite absolute good is flowing in us, through us, and to us from all directions. Our hearts are uplifted in gratitude and praise. The infinite source that is always present, never absent. We give thanks and rejoice in the consciousness and the teachings of Jesus that continue to bless us this day as we accept these truths. So we pray in the name, in the nature of the Christ. And so it is. We accept it. Amen.